Hey guys, welcome to the field today. I thought that I would take this opportunity on such a nice day to give you a little bit of a fleet update. I'm working on a whole bunch of stuff with the Minuet project, so I don't have a whole lot of shop updates, so I thought I'd give you a bit of a fleet update. The first thing that I want to give an update on is the trailer. How is the trailer doing? Because the trailer is just as much of a part of the fleet as anything else, so I thought I'd share about that first. The trailer is fine. I mean, it's weathered, it's been used, but a couple of additional things that I haven't mentioned on the channel at all about the trailer is that number one, you have to get a grease gun and you have to regularly grease the axles. It's just part of regular maintenance, so I make sure that I do that at least before every big trip. Whether I'm going to Georgia, Ohio, Indiana, wherever, it's just going to get a greasing. Doesn't hurt, grease is cheap, and bearings are frankly a bit more of a pain than grease. So yeah, that's about it. Let's go inside and I'll give you a brief update on the charging. So as we go up to the trailer, you can see that my vinyl experiment on the side for all of the different airplanes that I've built. Yeah, got to order those professionally. The sun just beats on this side of the trailer and these are all faded and gross, whereas the commercial one doing just fine. Love it. Love my logo. Moving inside, we've got the charging station and all of my other stuff like the little power station, mobile power station. It also has a tire inflator, so in case anything like that is needed, a jump pack as well, and I can power that off just one of my big 3S LiPo packs. But other than that, the battery is doing great. I did take the battery out of the trailer and take it to a reputable service place and had the battery properly tested. Now this is an AGM battery, and so it's completely sealed, and it's been out in the cold, hot, etc. inside the trailer this whole time, and it tested like it was practically brand new. So I should get plenty of life out of this battery, despite it being pretty expensive. It's one of the big truck batteries, so it was quite an investment, and I was a bit weary because of the solar. I didn't know how that would work, but it's doing great. In addition to that, we've got, plenty of our other things. Our prop supply is good. The bungee cords for the chair as well as the canopy, they're doing a great job. The speakers that I've added for music, they do a great job as well. It's just a little Bluetooth module up there that connects to my phone or my little tablet here that I can load music on. And other than that, the lights still work. They work great, and yeah, no complaints there. Really, the only thing that's showing any sort of significant wear on the trailer is that the carpet, because it's used a lot, whether it's walking on it or strapping things down to it, the carpet wants to come up in places. So on some of the shelves, I need to reapply some of that rubber cement that I use to adhere the carpet to the shelves. And then some of the staples on the floor, those have come up as well, so I need to redo that come the spring when the wood is a little bit more stabilized. The only other thing with that is the tires, and that's obviously a consumable. So with the tires, we just replace them when they're needed, but they're not down to the wear marks yet, so I'll have plenty of life this coming summer. Next up is my radio, another infrastructure thing. I've modified my radio to have a much larger battery pack. It is doing amazing. I love my Horus. My FR Sky Horus is my lifeline. It does everything in a bag of chips. I have no desire to upgrade. The only thing I don't like about this radio is that when you wear it with the neck strap, it's difficult to see the screen. I like the idea of the screen being up top. It's the only thing I would change. But the radio works great. I don't have any sort of signal issues, except when, there's a whole bunch of airplanes going down or there's any sort of interference from, like, I don't know, oil derricks in the middle of Ohio. I mean, who would have thought, right? So moving on to the airplanes that I keep out here at the field, I do have the Top Flight Elder here, and I fly it a lot. It's super fun. It reminds me of how to fly 3-channel. It's such a good plane to fly. I am thinking about adding ailerons to it still on the fence. I'll let you guys know, but probably will happen sometime in 2024. Other than that, we've got the Durafly Buffalo. It is battered and beaten, but still flies like amazing. It's just a fun plane to throw in the sky and beat around for 5 minutes. And then we have the OMP Challenger. And the Challenger is still on floats. I'm keeping it on floats for the duration of the winter because I want to do a whole bunch of snow flying as much as possible. Yeah, and I love this plane. It's definitely one of my favorites. That's why it stays out here in the trailer, because I fly it all the time. Moving on, we have the Seawind. The Seawind is still doing amazing. And I'll just keep flying it, refining it a little bit as I go. There was the nose gear incident, if you recall, that obviously has been fixed. Had the same sort of issue with the tail rudder. That was easily solved. I just put a modified Z-bend in it, you know, where you bend one over and then bend it 90 degrees. It's no longer a Z-bend. Anyway, get that in there, and still had a little bit of enough left over to get it hooked up inside the cockpit, so that is no longer an issue either. Flies great. Keep flying it and hopefully be able to float fly it at CEF. Same with the Beaver. Want to be able to fly it on floats at CEF, but I did put the skis back on it today, so hopefully we'll get some more snow sometime in February and be able to fly off of the skis. Does fly pretty great off of this kind of wet grass, so yeah, I took that for a flight today. Moving on, we have the SIG Cadet Senior. I love this plane. It's super fun. It does all the stupid things, and I can do towing and bomb drops, and yeah, it's just a fun plane to have around. It is showing age because I do a lot with this. Again, I keep this in the trailer. I fly it quite often. It's a nice big plane, and just to show people, like, yeah, I have a trainer and I use it and abuse it. Moving on from there, we have the giant Curtiss P6E Hawk, and this is from Great Plains. As many people new to the channel know, this is not a new airplane to the fleet. I have had this airplane for years. I fly it a lot. It's getting long in the tooth and about due for a restoration. I still can maintain it from time to time, but there are things like the mounts for the wheel pants. The wheel pants are fiberglass, and the vibrations have kind of taken their toll on the mounts where they've broken. I've tried to repair, and it's not holding, so I have to do a proper fiberglass repair, which on the inside is kind of difficult. But still, it's one little thing that I would like to do a full restoration and recover the whole model with Oratex so that it looks a little bit nicer, not quite as plasticky. But yeah, that's way down the road. No plans to do that this year. So that's it for the fleet at the field currently. I'm gonna pack up. I've done my flying for the day, and we'll cover what's going on in the shop with all the models there. And we're back in the shop now. It's a holy mess in here. Just to give you an idea, it's a disaster. It's an absolute disaster, but it's self-inflicted because I have a lot of projects going on. So what I have to preface first is I'm really tired of waiting on weather. Maryland has really fluctuating weather, and so getting projects done in the winter is great because I can stay inside and have, you know, constant environment, but at the same time painting is excruciatingly difficult. So I'm setting up a paint booth down here. It's just a small area of the shop, but the problem is, since I moved into the house, I haven't done anything with my models and they're all over the floor. So we've got models hanging, and I have more to hang, but at this point I'm going to hang more models like right here maybe, but really I'm going to do another one of these racks and should be able to fit 4 planes hanging from the ceiling right down there. So that'll be good. So we'll start right here. We've got Albatross, flies great. This is my 012 Melissa, which does not fly anymore, but can't bear to part with it. First airplane, scale airplane that I built getting back into the hobby like 2009. This thing got face planted into asphalt runway and I rebuilt it. So if that shows the level of commitment to this hobby, I don't know what else could be greater. So moving on down the line, we have the Seamaster 2, which flies great as long as the servos stay dry. So that's relegated to snow flying only, but I've got other snow planes right now. So that one's a little bit on retirement. Might discard this one because it was put together in such a hurry and I don't really fly it much anymore, but I don't know. Anyway, moving along, we've got the Fun Scale P47. This is actually on the chopping block if the retracts ever come back into stock. Horizon's got a really nasty habit right now of not having a whole lot of stuff in stock. It's okay. I understand they've got a lot of problems with their ordering system that they're working through. It's been a rough time of it, so I definitely have a lot of sympathy for those guys, and hopefully things will finally start coming around this year. I have hope. I have hope. Moving on, we have the FMS P40. Currently listed for sale. The air truck. The air truck, I haven't decided what to do with this yet. It will never fly. Still have the wings in the corner, but yeah, the air truck just sort of sits here very sad because it's very awkward and I don't know where to put it, and I'm not going to fly it. So anyway, the we'll come back to the B-25. The Curtiss Falcon, still need to do the flying wires and the landing wires. I did do these wires for the struts, but that is all. I did do some prop testing, more on that later, but yeah, the project is on hold because I need to make progress on the minuet. And then moving from there, we've got my SIG something extra, which is my only nitro plane. Haven't flown it in a while. I get it out from time to time. It's just one of those airplanes that it's like when you have a decent day and you don't care about making a mess, it's fun. It gives you the nostalgia of like the glow fuel, and you know, it's fun to make some noise every once in a while. It's the only glow plane I have, just like the Falcon is the only gas plane that I have. But yeah, it just sits there until I feel like throwing it in the air. Thing's been rebuilt and fixed so many times, it's ugly. You never see it on the channel because that's what it's there for. The Saab, which the wings are in this bag, but the Saab is basically ready for paint. Yeah, the wings are all sanded down, and the glass weave is filled, and so yeah, I need to mask stuff off, but that's why we're doing the paint booth, because I can't get predictable weather to plan to do any of that stuff. So that's why the Saab is here, because it's a constant reminder that I need to prioritize the paint booth. Moving on, we have this old Foxwolf 190, which I will never work on again. I will probably sell the bones of it. I tried doing retracts, didn't really work out because of the design of this. It's an old style ARF. It's a foam core balsa sheeted wing that really doesn't have enough structure for retracts. It's a true belly lander if you're interested, but it needs a bungee launch. It's not a hand launcher by any stretch. It's too big. And then the CB, still working on paint, what I want to do with that. We've decided that we're just going to move on. We really can't find any reference pictures. The GB flies great. We'll never get rid of the GB. It's looking a little bit long in the tooth because the vinyl has stretched, and so there's some exposed color in places, but it's an old model. It still flies. It's a 3S2200 model. It's great. Moving on, we do have a fresh wing rack here, and that holds the wing for the Texan, which is on the chopping block to not to sell, but to refurbish, rebuild. The same as the Fokker D.VI is for sale. Again, back to the wing rack, we've got the wings for the Curtiss Hawk, which you've already seen. And I've also got the wing for the Fokker D.8, which I haven't flown in a while, but there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. And it just sits there because that's the most efficient way to store it. The Helldiver, the Curtiss Helldiver, flew it last weekend, flies great, wings right there. The Smoothie, again, flies great for about 3 minutes at a pop. Wing is right there, nothing wrong with it, but yeah, doesn't do much. P-47 needs a cleaning, going through for the next season, but that's to be coming later. Not high priority just yet. And then we've got Microbird of Time from J&H Aerospace. Fly it from time to time whenever I get the mood. If I'm honest, it doesn't happen very often. I'm not really a glider guy. I've come to find that over the years. It's kind of fun. It's nice to have one that kind of scratches that itch, but usually I scratch it a little bit and then it goes away for a long time. Just me. There you go. In addition, we've got the Yin Yang, designed by Terry Dunn and plans by Dan Sponholz. So I keep that around because it's just weird and I like to throw it around. If I'm honest, it's looking a little bit ragged at this point. So I need to go over it really carefully and see if it's still a safe airframe. Sikorsky S-39. Those of you who remember this build from 9 years ago, 9 years ago. Yeah, so the Sikorsky I built at Flight Fest over the course of 3-4 days, and then brought it home. It flew there, and then brought it home and did all the finish work. So the Sikorsky is for sale. I never fly it, and I've come to the point where it's sentimental, but I've had my time with it. It's a good flying airplane. It's got some specific quirks to it that are perfectly manageable. But yeah, I'm ready to part ways with the Sikorsky. She's a beautiful plane, very scale, great silhouette. But yeah, it's time. We also have the FT. What is this thing? It's the glider, and again, sailplane, sorting stuff, glider stuff. Between the Microbird of Time and this, they scratch the itch. So yeah, doesn't get flown very often. Has the nice lights and stuff inside it, but yeah. From here we go to up on the ceiling. We've got the Eflight Rare Bear. That definitely scratches the Speed Demon itch as well as the CUDA. But then I've also got the... this is 13th Squadron SB-2C Helldiver. Honestly, I don't fly this airplane anymore because there's an issue with the motor mount. The motor mount is worn out. That's the thing with belly landers. And yeah, not really flyable anymore unless I do some pretty major surgery. And Steve, you did too good a job on the paint. And I really appreciate it, but I don't really want to cut into this model and ruin your artwork, so it'll probably be wall art or ceiling art for the foreseeable future. Much like the Bugatti. The Bugatti I will not part with, mostly because I'm not going to part with it. It's not safe. It's a very twitchy airplane. I've still only flown it twice, the maiden flight and the time at Flight Fest. The only times I've ever flown this model. It's a handful, and I don't want anybody else to try to fly it, so it will never be sold. It will never be given away. It will be a hangar queen indefinitely, especially because the motor is on the Smoothie. Okay, so that is the Bugatti. Moving on from there, we've got the Comet, another great one for just throwing around the park. It makes good fast noises and does weird things. It's cool conversation piece. And then there's my other little park Helldiver that is honestly a lot of fun. Little tiny 2 or 3 cell pack. Just throw it around the sky. All right. Last over here we have my Top Flight Corsair. The Top Flight Corsair is an interesting one because it's got good history. Airplane flies great. Everything works on it. It's a gorgeous airplane. I'm going to sell it. I'm going to sell it because I don't fly it. And the reason I don't fly it is I really just, I don't care about the Corsair. So yeah, it does all the things. It has the animated cockpit. It has the sliding canopy, all that stuff. But I've got a lot invested in this model, and I just don't fly it enough to keep it or justify keeping it. And so it's going to go away. It is for sale. If you're interested, let me know. I will not take any less than $1,500 for this airplane. It has a lot of equipment in it, a lot of time, a whole lot of detail. Remind you that it has flush rivets all over the model, everywhere. Bottom side, top side, it's full house, everything. Details to the nines. So it's not going to be cheap model to purchase, okay? I'm looking to get $1,800 for it. $1,500 is as low as I will go, but it has to go to someone who knows how to fly because it's a heavy warbird. Moving on from there, you know, guys, the B-25, I've got a whole bunch of parts over here that are waiting because this is all wing, and I have to glass stuff and then cover the aileron with some of the fabric material, but the flaps get glassed because the flaps are metal on the full scale, so that's got to be smooth, right? So that's a whole lot of detail work that I just don't have time for right now because I'm focusing on the minuets. The minuets are getting stained currently on the tail end on that one, and then I have to build out the tail end on this one. This will be the glow version. The reason you know that is because all of the holes for the electric cooling stuff, those have been glued in and sanded over. And this one, they're all punched out. I've got a lot of stuff going on for the minuet. There's still a ton of details that have to go into this. The glow one has to obviously have all of the stuff for the glow. I'm going to have a remote glow igniter that's going to run off of the battery, so you never have to have a glow thing to start it. You just hit the throttle and it'll go. And then also the electric, I've got a whole bunch of stuff to do for the electric, but like waiting on parts and stuff for the wings. Still waiting on servos to come. So there's a lot of stuff that's going on with the minuet that I have to resolve, and I've got that commitment first. So that being said, the last thing I need to cover is the paint booth. So the paint booth consists of this air scrubber. I've got a whole bucket of or box of plastic. It's going to just drop from the ceiling down to the floor. I'll make a little room here, and that will be my paint booth. I'll turn my spotlights around so that I can see in there, and I can sand in that too and minimize a lot of the mess that's coming from some of this stuff. These models here in the corner, some people have asked about this over the years. This is kind of my scrap pile. This is a 1/5 scale Pica Spitfire, and it was gifted to me. Someone's father had built it as a display model and kept it in his home until he passed. Still trying to figure out what I can do. The problem is that it was built for display, so I don't know if it's been built to fly. It needs a lot of going over, I'll leave it at that. I've got 2 Carl Goldberg Eagle bones, like frames, that I could kind of hobble together, but at this point, I've got my large trainer that I'll probably just throw those in a burn pile, along with the half-burnt yak that I've got there too. So that's a couple-year-old project as well. So that's all the models. I've got enough stuff going on, right? I've got parts, I've got engines, I've got other things to sell. Oh, I just realized I missed one. The Mustang. Yeah, Mustang hasn't changed. It's still here. It's still staring at me. It still gives me a rash on my forearms every time I touch it. There's still pieces of it over there in the corner. I still have the constant speed variable pitch stuff set. Okay? It's still there. I still want to build it. I don't know what to do. Thanks for coming along the shop. Those are the plans for the year. Those are the projects going on. If you're interested in anything that I'm selling, again, the Fokker, the Corsair, the Sikorsky the P40 and the P47, the fun scale P47, those are all for sale right now. The GB, I sold the GB, sold it to a club member, so it's staying in the family, if you will. But yeah, need to clean the house and keep going on building other stuff, because I've got plenty of stuff coming, let me tell you. I'm using the funds from this. The reason I'm selling these airplanes is because I have big plans to do even better models. And I have to sell the models that I have in order to fund those projects, because they are big. They're big, big projects. So thanks for stopping by. It's building season. Stop by dubro.com, use code Josh10, get your 10% discount, and start building some amazing works of art.